So why did you decide not to kneel?
Well, I decided not to kneel or wear the Black Lives Matter T-shirt first and foremost because I understood that everybody is about solutions, and we all see what's going on in our country. We all see what's going on in our nation today. Not just racism, but everything that plagues our society with murder. Just I can go down the list of everything that plagues our society. So I'm about solutions. And when I saw people taking the decision to kneel, I thought the best decision and the best solution is the gospel of Jesus Christ, because that's how my life has been supported. That's how I've seen countless lives be changed, supported, changed for the better. When it comes to situations like racism, when it comes to anything, realizing and understanding that we're all made in the image of God is the answer. And that's the solution that I went with.
Would you have criticized Christians that did kneel?
No, I think it's up to everybody's opinion. It's up to them what they want to do. I felt like I respected everybody that made the decision to kneel, and I expected that same respect.
And so what was the response that you received after July 31st when you decided not to?
It was wild. My DMs were absolutely flooded, mentions absolutely flooded on every single social media outlet. And it was great. There were people who agree with me, and obviously people who didn't, but much more that agreed with me than that didn't, that I saw. So I was encouraged.
Explain a little bit more, Jonathan, about why the gospel for you has compelled you to say, I'm looking at actions, and what can following Jesus look like for action-oriented measures when it comes to race relations for you?
Oh, well, I think that one of the first things when it comes to following Jesus is looking at yourself in the mirror. And I feel like what happens a lot of times in situations like this is we are comparing each other's sins. We're saying your sins are worse than my sins. And usually that only comes down to whose sin is most visible. And then that person has the moral high ground. But when it comes to Jesus, he's the moral high ground, and we all fall short of his glory. So everyone can look at themselves and say, man, I'm a part of the problem. You're not just evil. I have evil in me too. And we can work together as a solution with the gospel, with Jesus Christ being the thing that pins us all together. I've had conversations with white Christians, and the things that pin us together is the gospel, not color, not anything like that. So we can get past skin color. We can get past all the things that separate us, and look to the one thing that brings us together, which is Jesus, who died for every single one of us.
So I'm curious, then, Jonathan, how do you enter into a conversation where somebody might, express their biases against you are a black man? How do you respond to the hatred that might be propelled towards you as a black individual?
Well, I mean, I think that it comes down to individuals. I'm not one to paint everybody a certain way and say, okay, white people are like this or black people are like this. I've been helped and loved by white people, and vice versa on both sides. So I'm not one to stand in the middle or on one side saying that the other side is wrong. I think it comes down to individuals. And I think at the end of the day, the problem is sin. The problem has always been sin from the very beginning of time. And it comes down to an individual basis. Some people feel a certain way, some people don't, but you can't paint with such a broad brush. So I would just go down to it's personal. It's between every individual. And that's why the gospel is so important, because the gospel impacts one individual at a time and changing their heart to see more clearly and to see things from a spiritual perspective and not a natural one.
Right. So have you ever, I'm assuming as a black man, you've experienced racism. How do you feel when you experience that, when you're seen not because of your faith, but because of your skin color?
I mean, I think every black person has experienced it at some point in time in my life. It hasn't been anything recently, more so when I was a kid, but and with kids. But it happens, and that's a part of, like I said, the sinful hearts of man. I can't call somebody out for what they do wrong without acknowledging my own wrong. And that's, again, where we all fall short of God's glory. We all say things we shouldn't say, do things we shouldn't do. And a lot of times we're not so honest about that. And I think that's the conversation that needs to be had, that we all fall short and that we all can continue to move forward like we have as a country and as a people, as we look towards Jesus Christ, who died for every single one of us.
Yeah. Not everybody believes in the gospel, and so and not everybody believes in Jesus. So how do you walk this conversation with people who might not necessarily agree with what you say. As you're saying, we can fight this problem of racial injustice with Jesus.
My appeal to them would be, what is going to change everything? What is at the cause, the root of the problem? It's not just white versus black. It's a problem of every single human being wanting what doesn't belong to them, wanting what they can't have, what they don't deserve, and doing whatever they want to get it. And that comes down to each heart. That comes down to the sin of men. And I would point them to the Bible and the cross, in which Jesus can set us free from all the things that plague our society. And I think in this time, we're looking for hope. We're looking for an answer to the problems. And I believe that God gave the answer 2,000 years ago when Jesus died on that cross. So that's what I would appeal to them, to just look around and see the world that we're living in, and see everything that plagues our society, and that we need a different route. We need a different answer.
All right. Thank you so much, Jonathan Isaac.